My God, I was naive. Last session I did some high volume training. Felt really good and becoming really confident with my endurance. Today, I want to address the importance of high reps, even when it comes to getting stronger. High reps is often being swept under the rug when it comes to getting strong and is being more put on the hypertrophy spotlight. I'm not talking about the classic 8 to 12 reps or something like that. I'm talking about 12, 15, 20, 25, especially AMRAP and going to failure. High reps were my savior. They really were. Since I started powerlifting, I've done a lot of lower rep ranges with heavier weight, which is absolutely the essential thing, but there will come a point and a limit where your endurance, or what is so-called endurance strength, will lay down. For example, I could squat like 150 kg for 3 to 5 reps, but was having difficulties doing more than 8 reps on 2 plates or even 1 plate due to heavy breathing and lack of stamina, therefore my endurance. I mean, I could still do them, but it was an issue. It wasn't comfortable. I wasn't comfortable performing that movement. At the time I didn't think about it too much, but the case was I got stronger, but not as strong as I could have been. And I still did rep ranges like 6 to 8, even 10 at some exercises while I was doing powerlifting, but the endurance still was an issue. Recently, or rather the end of last year, I switched it up a notch. Not only did I start to squat more frequently, almost every day, but also finishing my working sets with AMRAPs, which would be brutal, but yet very beneficial for my strength increase. And it's not only about doing high reps, guys. I think it's really important to display what's really happening here. It's the time and attention. That's a very key part of all of this. I really fell in love with this concept. This, for me, is also about putting me in an uncomfortable environment, in an uneasy situation. I mean, finishing a deadlift or squat session with a set of 15 to 20, even 30 plus reps, that isn't easy. It's really hard. It teaches you discipline and willpower and increasing your ability to push yourself, to really push yourself. I mean, my squat is still a weak point and far from perfect, but since I started doing sets of 12, 15, even 20 plus reps, my squat has both become more confident and more stable when it comes to strength and endurance. So I'ma keep doing it because it works a lot for me. And I think that's the most important thing here. Do what works for you. A lot of people here, maybe even you that's listening and watching this video right now, is thinking that this isn't and never has been an issue for you. A lot of people proceed and execute their career as a, let's say, strength athlete without doing these types of workouts because they don't need to. They're already doing one thing, they're training and doing what works for them, just like I'm doing what works for me right now. So why change it? Don't need to. But for me, it didn't work back then. I needed to change something. When you're stuck and something ain't working, you need to alter either volume, intensity, frequency, or maybe even variation of exercises to maybe target some weak points. And why do I believe this was so effective? Let me tell you. I think one of the biggest reasons why high reps, like 20, even 30 reps, work so well, and with a high probability is working for even some of you out there, is because of the process of an unfamiliar stimulus. With this I mean, it's working because you never did it before. Maybe some of you do, but I very rarely see someone squatting over 15 to 20 reps on the barbell back squat. Let me tell you, it's brutal, but god damn, it's worth it. Don't have to be heavy, at least in the learning process of it. Just do them. And I still think you need a great balance. You can't just do a lot of reps or just spend time on more low reps with higher weight type of programming. You need both time and tension. You need a balance between it. That's also why this is working so good, because I lacked the balance when I started out as a strength athlete. I'm still doing a lot of triples, 5 reps, even singles, but a lot of more sets to failure now. I'm used to training to failure actually when it comes to accessory movements, but I've really never done them when it comes down to the SBD lifts. But while I'm praising the high reps here, don't forget the heavy work, man. It's not that black and white. Just find the balance. For me, I needed quite a bit more of endurance to balance my strength out, but that's not always the case, is it? It's one thing to move an object many times over and over again. It's another to move a really, really heavy object at all. You need to adapt both your body and brain for the heavy weight. But then again, as I mentioned, it's not always this black and white. It could be, but not always. It also depends on your goal, guys. Remember, I'm talking out of my own perspective here, which is pretty strength focused at the moment, but with a side goal of hypertrophy and aesthetic. This isn't everyone's goal. But going back to it, to increase in strength and get better at a lift, especially the squat, bench and deadlift, you need to do one thing. Practice it often. Strength is a skill, remember that. Just like any other skill, you need to practice it again, and then again to get better at it. Whether it's becoming, let's say, better at a instrument, a sport, or just getting stronger in the gym. So it's not just about me increasing my rep ranges, increasing my volume. It's not. It's a lot about my increasing frequency as well. You want a fine balance between all these factors: volume, intensity, frequency, meaning how much you practice a lift in the sense of reps times sets, how heavy you perform it, and how often throughout the week. And by reflecting about this in relation to my squat, it's been an eye-opening for me. Yeah, the squat is one of the best, if not the best movement out there, if you ask me. You can't really replace a barbell back squat, can you? But it's a very scary lift too. But this shouldn't stop you. It rather should motivate and drive you to do it more, am I right? And this was the problem, the thing that I couldn't see in the past. If you ask me, the squat begins already before you unrack it. It's a very scary lift. You need mentality and that focus to squat big. And in the past, I've always been a so-called lazy squatter, if you will. By this I mean, for a long time I've never pushed myself hard enough when it came to the squat. To train hard enough haven't been a problem for me generally, but when I look back at my early squat periods, in my starting years, I didn't even come close to that intensity and volume that I would need, and didn't either squat with decent depth until a couple of years ago. But now, the other day I hit 12 to 15 reps, as I do on my hack squats sets, and pushed out actually a 40 reps as a AMRAP, as a finishing one. And oh boy, wouldn't even think about that 5 years ago. Squat is one of the hardest, if not the hardest lifts out there, guys. then train it like it is. Come on. And the reason why my squat's been so weak and kinda insecure of the year is simple. The weight has felt so heavy already in down racking when I put the bar over my back, and that's where the core comes in. And like I explained in my last video, this is something I'm working on. And I think when I strengthen my core, my squat also will become a lot more stabilized, and the better the feeling of a strong body position while going down in a squat. And I also think here is where the high reps also comes in, the core work. I do believe that the very high repetition type of training activates and truly benefits your core strength in the long run. I truly do. But yeah, that's it for today's video. Thanks a lot guys for listening and watching. Appreciate it, and I'll see you on the next one.